Today we're looking at something very special. See, you have this TV show called Mobile Suit Gundam, and it struggled a little bit early on, but you've got it chugging along quite nicely now, and I was thinking, what if I were to do a manga tie-in for you? It would make us both a little bit of money, and it would give your fans a little bit more of that world they've been craving. It's a win-win, don't you think? This is the kind of conversation that they must have been having back in 1984, and it seems like it went well, because the children of Generation X, who read comic Bomb Bomb, got their hands on the very first Gundam side story, titled Record of Mobile Suit War, or Record of MS War. And just check out this cover. It is so cool, man. I love the color combinations. The green on the Zaku really pops. As a teen, if I saw this in a store, I absolutely would have picked it up. I still would now. But what is the very first Gundam spin-off actually about? Let's find out. The year is UC 0078. Ignore the misprint cover that says 2079. The space colony, Side 3, is itching to declare its independence from the Earth Federation, an action that would spark the bloodiest war in human history. It is a time of intense fear, loss, and sadness. But it is also a time of fierce patriotism. We join the enthusiastic young man Fredrick Brown as he travels to the moon city of Granada to begin his training at the Zeon Military Academy. Fredrick wants to be a mobile suit pilot. The only problem is that he's kinda stupid, and mobile suits are really hard to pilot. Fredrick Brown makes up for what he lacks in brains, though, with effort. And 10 grueling months later, he's a cadet officer in B Company, 1st Battalion of the 1st Mobile Infantry Division in the Mobile Assault Forces, which is military talk for you get to drive a tank with legs and hold a gun. Fredrick serves under Company Commander Lieutenant Bulk and Chief Petty Officer Houndsman. I'm glad that even from the very first spin-off, we already were grasping what Tomino was going for with the name scheme. Fredrick is thrilled to be serving his country, and while they're all soldiers together, Houndsman really develops an affection for his young squad mate and just asks to be called Pops. The squad spends their days patrolling space and running drills. That is, until the fateful day arrives. Side 3 declares itself the Principality of Zeon, and declares war against the Earth Federation. The meaningless patrols and drills are suddenly over, and Fredrick has to face his first real mission. The attitude is lighthearted, as second-wave units, his squad isn't expecting to run into anything too serious. But that mood quickly dissipates as they pass by a space colony. The capital of Side 2, called Island Ifish, as it hurtles by on a collision course with Earth. Fredrick wonders aloud if the civilians were evacuated, but his pop sets him straight. Wake up, kid, this is war. You either do what needs to be done, or you die. Fredrick's squad makes their way to another Side 2 colony, and attaches large gas pumps to the ventilation system, slowly killing everyone inside. And he is mortified. And I don't blame him. I mean, can you imagine your first day at work, and the first thing that you have to do is somebody hands... You know, I probably can't continue that analogy without getting flagged by YouTube, so we're just gonna go ahead and move on. A Federation Salamis-class ship called the Panama enters the field and begins firing at his squad mates. And just look at this thing. I love these ships, man, and the art is so good. I think they knew the art was great, too, with making this a double-page spread. I love that you can see all the different gun barrels coming off, it's really high detail, and you've even got the little Zaku for scale. I think that's how we measure things in this universe. Fredrick targets the bridge with his bazooka and pulls the trigger, sinking the ship and saving his squad. For his efforts in battle, he's promoted to Petty Officer, 2nd Class. I think this is a great introduction to Fredrick's character. He's a patriotic kid who just wants to serve his country, but he is immediately like, oh, this war thing is serious and really terrifying. But the people around him just don't really react very much to it, so he very quickly falls in line and just continues seeking their approval, despite seeing things that very clearly cross his own moral compass. There's a lot of books on this phenomena out there, so I'm not going to linger on it too much, but what a great intro to this story. There's a bit of a time skip here, and we rejoin Fredrick's story as his Zaku is shot and destroyed. Fredrick is sucked into the void of space where he meets his worst nightmare, the Grim Reaper, who happens to be a Federation general. It taunts him, chanting at him, "Murderer, murderer, your hands are stained with blood." As it stabs him with his sickle, Fredrick snaps awake to find himself in a Granada City hospital. His Zaku really was destroyed in the Battle of Loom, so the date is likely January 19th, 0079. This is a massive conflict in the Gundam universe. The Battle of Loom is the very first fleet battle in UC history, and it's got a whole movie named after it called Gundam The Origin: Clash at Loom. So it's cool to know our plucky hero is there as one of the little unnamed Zaku pilots. After he's recovered enough, we see Fredrick's squad attending a meeting to teach them about the new Federation ship, called the Trojan Horse, that just made planetfall the day before. So episode 5 of the original Gundam series just happened. Fredrick's squad doesn't think much of the Federation tech, but it comes out that Commander Garma Zabi has been killed, and the Federation forces are closing in on Captain Makuve's European front. Zeon needs reinforcements on Earth, so Fredrick's squad is summoned, but not without reinforcements of their own. Fredrick's squad is assigned 3 new recruits, and no longer the newbie himself, Fredrick finds himself promoted to Sergeant. On the way to Earth, Fredrick notices some amazing-looking new mobile suits in the hangar, and finds that he's sharing a cruiser with 3 of his heroes, Lieutenants J.G. Ortega, Gaia, and Mash, the Black Tri-Stars. He tells them that his company held the line right beside their sector at Loom. They thought he was a rookie since he was so young, but they respect him more after hearing he was a survivor of that battle. Gaia even lets him sit in the Dom. This scene encompasses a lot of what I love about Gundam. The simplified version is war bad, but, Fredrick is a war veteran at this point who has survived several conflicts, and he is so young, they're asking if he wants to sit in the fire truck, and the answer is yes. The Federation is busy shouting about how all Zeon is evil, and this is the face that they're talking about. And the sad thing is, Amuro is on the other side, and he's older, sure, but not by too much. It's never outright stated or anything, but it doesn't have to be. As a reader, it's just heartbreaking, but it feels intentional. Okay, I kinda lied, because the next scene has Fredrick arriving on Earth and heading to the local Zeon dive bar hangout. He saunters up to the bar and orders himself a tall glass of milk. You know, in case the last scene did go over your head. He gets into a fight with an infantryman who doesn't respect the posh pilot life, but he's rescued by a houndsman who vouches for his bravery and accolades, then makes him run laps as punishment for getting into a fight. If only, though, we could stay at the bar having petty fights all day. It's not to be, though, because it's time for Operation Odessa. This is the biggest land battle of the entire one-year war. The goal was for the Federation forces to push Zeon out of this region, because it's one of the largest industrial zones on Earth, and it's where Zeon is getting a lot of its resources for, well, everything. The idea was that if the Federation could take it and deprive Zeon of those resources needed to keep their industry going, then the war would have to come to an early end. So the Federation commits a third of their entire Earth forces to this operation. Fredrick wonders if any Federation mobile suits will make an appearance. The White Devil already has quite the reputation for fighting the Black Tri-Stars and the Red Comet. His squad, though, is entrusted with fighting a Big Tray land battleship, and man does this thing have a lot of guns. They're able to take it down, though, with just one of Fredrick's men being shot down, and he even manages to survive and take its captain hostage. That's pretty good. It's a victory on one small front, but the Federation forces are too numerous, and Chief Houndsman comes to inform Fredrick's squad that the rear lines have been breached and need reinforcements. Some friendly Dodai pilots give them a lift to Lieutenant Bulk's squad, but it's too late. Fredrick is just in time to see his commanding officer defeated by some kind of attack from a Federation mobile suit that uses beam weapons. A grief-stricken Fredrick charges into battle against the White Devil himself. It's like a horror movie, as the Federation mobile suit's speed far outclasses a regular Zaku 2. I think it's fascinating that whenever Amuro shows up in these conflicts, we as the audience know he's just this angsty teen that doesn't want to be there and kind of got dragged into it. But from everybody else's perspective outside the Gundam, The Gundam is just kind of this stoic, like, cold killer that can mow down entire legions by itself. It's the thing of legends, and it's really interesting to me just seeing that contrast between, the moody Amuro of the time and this reputation that he's really starting to foster for himself. As his squad is being shredded, Fredrick refuses to disengage and instead faces the White Devil in a charge, which of course results in Fredrick being cut down. When he comes to, he's somehow still alive, and Houndsman, his pops, comes to pull him out of the wreckage again, just like he did at Loom. So the two of them, along with Fredrick's soldier Model, can trek through the desert back to wherever the friendly line is. They're picked up on the way by a friendly medic truck, and Fredrick gets to see firsthand just how bad Zeon's losses are. With Lieutenant Bulk having fallen in battle, Fredrick's unit becomes floaters, and as Captain Makuve escapes back to space aboard the mobile cruiser Madagascar, Zeon's foothold on Earth is all but lost. The Zeon force's main foothold on Earth is lost, but hope is not. Captain Shar Aznable has paved a way forward, and now, Command is launching an assault of the Federation's South American stronghold, Jaburo. Fredrick and his team are even upgraded to Doms. Most of them, anyway. He gets to be just like his heroes, the Black Tri-Stars. With the death of Commander Bulk, Fredrick's company now serves under Lieutenant Gates, who speaks harshly and Fredrick doesn't trust him. He realizes that taking Jaburo with the current Earth forces is very unlikely to succeed. His soldier, Nalman, is looking at a photo of his mother and thinking about being her only child. Fredrick orders him to make it home for her. November 30th, UC 0079. Zeon deploys their DOP fighter squadrons as their GA carriers begin to drop mobile suits over Jaburo. It is intense, shells erupting everywhere. Fredrick's man Model, who trekked with him through the deserts after Operation Odessa, is hit, and his Dom explodes before it even hits the ground. Nalman is shell-shocked, and Lieutenant Gates threatens to execute him, but Fredrick snaps him out of it by telling him to just protect his mom. Gates bravely decides to fall back and issue orders from the supply depot a safe distance away. What a hero. The fighting is intense, and Nalman Zaku is rendered inoperable, but Fredrick's squad is saved once again by his pops. They rally to Lieutenant Gates, who's under attack, and after saving him and clearing the area, he orders Nalman to go back and fight the Federation mobile suits with nothing but his fists. Fredrick is willing to go to blows for his man, but Houndsman stops him once again, and throws the punch himself. Fredrick screams to them, "What the hell are we fighting for? For Gates? Did Model and the others die for his glory? This should be our battle for Zeon's survival." And with that, he charges in to fight the whole of the Federation army by himself. He destroys a tank, and takes out a gym, but his Dom loses an arm in the process. A Federation pillbox whirls on him, but it's too late. Chief Houndsman pilots his Dom between Fredrick and the gun emplacement. Fredrick scores a killing blow, but at what cost? He pulls his pops from the wreckage and holds him close. The enemy before you is fearsome, but the real terror is killing from the hatred in your heart. Human life. It's sacred. It must be preserved. Sometimes, the true enemy lurks in your own mind. Don't lose sight of the bigger picture. Understand? If you do, get out of here. From now on, you must guide the new recruits. His body falls limp, and Fredrick is alone. Fredrick races back to his Dom, but he's not sure where to go until a friendly Komusai flies overhead, a beacon of hope through the chaos. He's able to reach it and escape the carnage on the ground. As the ship makes its way back up to the atmosphere, he glances back just in time to see the White Devil flying through the trees. Universal Century 0080. Earth Federation Forces War Archives Committee. Fredrick Brown sortied from a Boaku Zeon's last bastion of resistance. In the aftermath of that decisive battle, searches recovered the remains of his Gelgoog mobile suit, but his ultimate fate remains unrecorded. I hope you all enjoyed the story, Record of MS War, as much as I did. For a very first side story, Record of MS War is insanely good. I love the relationship between Fredrick and Houndsman, and this kind of father-son dynamic that they develop over the course of the war. It's also really interesting to see pretty much the entire one-year war through the eyes of a young Zeon soldier. My favorite thing is seeing how Fredrick's motivations really develop over time. At the start, Fredrick is pretty clearly fighting because it's what's expected of boys his age. Then he meets his fellow pilots and his father figure, and he's fighting to protect himself and them from harm. By the end, he's fighting for the survival of his whole country. I don't think Fredrick really knows about Giren's master plans or the real politics of it all. That's all decided way above his head. He just has to pay for it. And by the end of the story, we can see him losing faith in those higher-ups caring about him, or even caring about Zeon at all. He's not even sure what the attack on Jaburo is for, or how this helps his home. I also find it fascinating that they're like, okay, this is the first ever Gundam comic. There might not be any more after this. What do we want to do if we just get to do one single thing? We gotta make sure we humanize Zeons and sprinkle the black tri-stars in there for good effect. The author of Unicorn Gundam is criticized a lot for his more humanized depiction of Zeon, but Zeon being made of people is something that goes all the way back to the very start of Gundam. Literally the second thing ever made was about that. A lot of people just blindly say that Zeon is evil, over and over again, as some kind of mantra, and while I think people like Giren, or in this story, Lieutenant Gates, are pretty evil, I don't think Fredrick is. He's just a young guy trying to do what he thinks is right, and on the other side of the war, he's being opposed by Amuro, another young guy who's just trying to do what he thinks is right, who was born in different circumstances, at a different place, at a different time. This is what I love about Gundam. The bad guys have faces and names, they have families, and they have moms that they're trying to make it home to. Everyone involved is a person, and most of them have, through circumstances beyond their control, been pulled into this greater conflict to fight people that they don't even necessarily understand why they're fighting. In the end, I think Fredrick defends Oboaku because the Federation is coming to reconquer his home, and the Federation is doing that because Zeon attacked their home, and Zeon did that because a long line of corrupt politicians decided that people who live in space are lesser. Fredrick and Amuro are both so far removed from these decisions that by the time it makes its way downstream to them, it is just a tragedy, and they are the ones who have to physically fight it out. Just fantastic stories, man. I love Gundam. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to explore more of the Gundam universe with me. Thank you to Zeonic for the translation, and I hope to see all of you in the next one.